For the first time in a long time, it seemed like we were finally using some common sense in this war. Now, I'm not sure what the hell we're doing.
Life in America isn't what it used to be.
And you say, well, I've never done that. Well, why don't you do it?
Making the headline.
5. Or go to mezzobook.com.
Hi, I'm Jane King, and thank you for watching. This show is all about public, private, and blockchain companies. We bring you the innovators behind the companies making the headlines in that space. Some are sponsored, some are invited, all are curated and focused on telling you, the viewers, their story. Here we go. COVID vaccines are one way we'll be able to resume a normal life again. And one company working on a COVID vaccine is Tonics. And the CEO and founder, Seth Lederman, is here with me to explain what they're doing. So, Seth, if you could just kind of start your background and why you decided to be a founder of Tonics.
Well, Jane, thank you very much for having me on and your interest in Tonics. I was a professor at Columbia Medical School, and I founded Tonics and to work on important problems. And we've been working on pandemic preparedness for quite a while. I started my career researching HIV. And like many people in the COVID fight right now, the roots of my interest go back to HIV. And a lot of the tools that we're developing were tools that were developed to fight HIV. But now Tonics has grown. We're on NASDAQ. We're publicly traded. And we have quite significant research going on in a number of areas. But we are a research-driven biotechnology company, and COVID is one of our important programs.
Now, we know that Moderna has emergency use authorization from the FDA. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson is working on that. Can you kind of explain where your vaccine is and how it would fit into this kind of family of vaccines that we're seeing?
First, it's wonderful that the mRNA vaccines already have emergency use authorization, as you say, and I can't wait to get mine. I think that this is a very important step forward for the country, for the world. I think it shows the importance of novel technologies, but there are some unanswered questions, and we are busily working on ours because we think ours has attributes that those vaccines may or may not have.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the mRNA technology, and my understanding, this is the first time it's been used in a vaccine, and it requires the vaccines be really cold, like 95 degrees below zero. So that is one thing that just logistically makes them more difficult to administer, correct?
Yes, and it's remarkable how the United States has been distributing it, dealing with this huge problem. And even under the best hands, sometimes if vaccine is stored at the wrong temperature, it has to be discarded. So this is it's a limitation, but it's also reflective of how incredibly quickly these vaccines were developed. I mean, less than a year. So I'm in awe of what was accomplished by Moderna and Pfizer and J&J and AstraZeneca. But you're right. Ultimately, we really need vaccines that can be stored at more reasonable temperatures, that once they are, either thawed or reconstituted, can be stored in a regular refrigerator. And also, we need these vaccines also for the rest of the world, where, for example, in remote places in Africa and India and other places, it's not practical to get something like a Pfizer vaccine deployed there. So yes, ours is designed to be much more robust. And, when it is mass produced, it can be shipped around the world with reasonable storage conditions. But again, the product attributes of ours being more robust, easier to use, et cetera, that's part of the reason why it takes more time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the Moderna and Pfizer are two doses. What are you working on?
Yes, so ours is a one-shot vaccine, and that's a very important attribute, because it's just human nature. People don't always come back for that second shot. A surprising number of people don't come back for that second shot. And in thinking about vaccination as a public health issue, everyone needs to be protected when everyone gets the adequate vaccination. So if you have people that are not adequately vaccinated, you're really not protecting, the rest of the people. So it's not only a convenience issue, but it's an issue about really protecting the public.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of timetable would you say that you're on? What's next for your vaccine? What does it have a name yet? I mean, and then where do you go? Like, when might we actually see this implemented in a doctor's office, for example?
Well, let me take baby steps first. We are rushing to manufacture it at a quality level that's acceptable for human trials. So we expect to accomplish that this summer, and we expect to commence human testing. It will initially be safety testing this year. So that's about as far forward-looking as I can forecast right now, because it'll be dependent on how desperate society is in 2022 for how quickly we can move forward. If, for example, there's the belief that the existing, maybe by that time there'll be 4 or 5 EUA vaccines. If people think that the pandemic is really under control, we're going to go through a more traditional vaccine development. But on the other hand, if these strains are confounding everyone, if things are really not going as planned, then there's an opportunity for us to move faster.
Well, yeah. Well, that was one question: was if I'm vaccinated, do I still have to wear a mask? But that forward transmission is still a question mark, right? We don't know, even though we're vaccinated, we don't know if we can still spread the virus to somebody else.
Well, let me say unequivocally, people who are vaccinated should continue to wear masks, should continue to practice social distancing, should continue to hand wash, and be just as scrupulous as they were before they were vaccinated. Mm-hmm. One of the common misconceptions of vaccination is that some people believe incorrectly that vaccination protects someone from getting infected. That's simply not correct. Vaccination only changes the outcome of infection. So someone who's vaccinated can still get infected and they can still spread it. But a successful vaccine would lead them to, for example, not die or not wind up on a respirator, et cetera.
Okay.
So I certainly hope that people that are vaccinated will continue to be, to practice all of the safe measures that we've been learning. It'll be a long time before we're out of the woods with those, those precautions.
Okay, long time. Year? No, longer? I don't know.
In Asia, people wore in Tokyo, people were wearing masks, 15 years after SARS. So I think that masks are going to be part of the landscape of humanity.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll say we certainly appreciate the work that you're doing, Seth, on this, because I mean, for us non-scientists, I mean, we rely on you to, keep us healthy and live a normal life and get back to work and all that. So we really appreciate what you're doing, and please update us as you continue to do studies with this vaccine.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show, and thanks for your interest in what we're doing.
Nextech AR Solutions is providing augmented reality solutions for businesses. And with me is the CEO and founder, Evan Gappelberg of Nextech AR Solutions. So great to have you here, Evan.
Great to be here, Jane.
So now you're trading over the counter, right? So tell me about that. What kind of exciting ventures do you have going right now? And how can somebody find your stock?
Sure. So we're dual listed in Canada under the symbol NTAR, and in the US under the symbol NEXCF. The stock is pretty liquid, trades a couple 100,000 shares a day. As far as finding us, I mean, you could find us on any trading platform, and, we're in the augmented reality space. Business is booming. We just ended 2020 with 20 million in revenue.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is a hugely growing space for sure. Now, how did you get here? I know you have a really interesting kind of story about how you founded the company.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go all the way back, it started out with taking Take-Two Interactive Software public. That was, all the way back in the 1990s. That was at $5 a share. I brought in the seed capital. The stock right now is $205 a share. And the valuation back then was 30 million. It's now about 23 billion. And so my whole way of investing, and I've been an investor my whole life managing money, has been to look for multi-decade, multi-trillion-dollar mega trends. And AR is part of the digital transformation, which is probably the biggest mega trend that the world has ever experienced to date, is this whole digital transformation. And so I look at augmented reality as part of that. And if you think of the digital transformation megatrend that's currently underway, it's being led by 5G. I mean, a lot of people have really started to think of this digital transformation as the fourth industrial revolution. And with technology evolving faster than ever, you see in this revolution really being led by augmented reality, AI, Internet of Things, edge computing, cloud computing, and as I mentioned, 5G is kind of driving the adoption globally. And if you look at 5G over the next couple of years, you're going to see an 11x adoption of 5G. And the way I look at this, Jane, is that there's a convergence of all of these technologies where they're becoming ubiquitous, really for training, in e-commerce, for advertising, and entertainment. And this convergence really is stimulating a rapid market adoption environment similar to the internet in the 1990s. And if you remember what happened then, there was the creation of multi-billion-dollar industries almost overnight.
So you are not the only public company in this space. So there's Vuzix, Why My Hologram, Snapchat is known for virtual reality. I think they're traded on the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, how would you compare yourself to those other companies in this space?
So back to what I was just saying, they're point solutions, right? So Vuzix has a pair of AR glasses for enterprise. It's not something a consumer would wear. It's somebody, in a warehouse, you're able to wear these AR glasses and kind of, maneuver around the warehouse, which, they have a market cap of about 500 million. And again, they have one product. We have a portfolio of product. If you look at Snap, Snap is a walled garden. They have a lot of augmented reality experiences in their app. Primarily, Snap's business model revolves around their AR ad network. Again, we have an AR ad network, and we're launching it now. Actually, we just hired the president of Microsoft Online to run our ad network. He ran a $10 billion ad network at Microsoft. He left Microsoft January 5th, joined Nextech to build our $1 billion ad network.
And you also recently filed to uplist to the NASDAQ?
We did. We filed to uplist, and we're expecting to get approved imminently. We're in discussions with investment bankers in the U.S. to open up our company to institutional investors. Right now, we're purely retail stock. There's no institutions in our stock at all. And, primarily it's me, my friends, and the early investors. I'm the single largest shareholder. I bought stock 5 times in the last 12 months in our stock. And so if you look at, the trajectory of the company, we're now knocking on the door of institutions, knocking on the door of NASDAQ, uplisting, really crossing over from startup to kind of being that mid-cap hyper-growth tech stock.
Okay, so you talked about that a little bit, the NASDAQ potential uplisting this year. What else is in the plans for Nextech?
I mean, we're focused, Jane, on becoming a multi-billion-dollar public company that's known the world over for its AR offerings in advertising, in virtual events and live events, and also for the live streaming, as I mentioned, of human holograms. I mean, each one of these businesses alone is a $1 billion opportunity, each one of them. And we have multiple.
Fascinating, Evan. Thank you so much. And I look forward to getting an update soon as more technology comes out and the NASDAQ listing comes through. So that will be very interesting.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Winston Gold is a Montana-based gold mine and gold business, and recently they have produced some gold and silver concentrates out of this mine. So with me is CEO Murray Nye and also the executive chairman Joe Caraba. And so I guess Murray, do you want to start with me and kind of tell me the news here, what you found and what this means?
Well, yeah, okay, Jane, and I'll let Joe elaborate on it because he's got a lot of experience in the process, part of the business for sure. It was always our intention to put this mine into production. While we were doing that, we produced what we call development ore. The development ore we stockpiled at the mill. It's a lower grade material. We used it to bed the mill in, if you like, or test it. And we also used it for the pad to put the ore on. So we started the mill up in late December. Then we were able to run it in January for 95 consecutive hours. And in the process, we produced some what they refer to as, the mill will produce 2 things. It'll produce a gravity concentrate, if you like, and a float concentrate. And maybe, Joe, I'll let you elaborate on what that is.
Go ahead, Joe.
Sure, be glad to. So the larger gold particles that we have, once we grind through a ball mill that goes with it, we take them through a hydraulic classifier, a piece of machinery called a Nielsen classifier. And in that, the larger particles drop out, if you will. So we take that down 6 to 8% of the total gold that we'll see coming out. And we gather that up into a separate set of containers that we will then run through a Whiffley table, if you will, to create a super con that we can sell quite easily here in the United States without going through the refining and smelting processes that we will probably send the flotation cons through. After the gravity is separated, the larger particles, the fine particles then go through a series of flotation cells. We add chemicals to them and froth it with air. And from there, we gather those up into super sacks. We take it through a filter press to take the water out. And it's got a combination of gold, silver, and probably another 20 or 30 metal elements that you would see typically in a sulfide deposit like this. And from there, as soon as we get up to a container load that is 20 tons or 21-ton super sacks, we can start shipping those to a designated refinery.
Okay, so this, I don't know much about mining. I would love to come visit your mine someday, but this sounds successful. Sounds like it's been a good thing. Can you kind of explain what this means for your business?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you think about it, you know, with, there's many junior companies that are out there, most involved in long-range projects, and you see results all the time on drill results that they're doing as they ramp up. We've successfully taken this from when we started the adit to go into the veins. And about 2 years ago, we've gone from the drill bit to producing gold. And I don't think you'll find many junior mining companies in that category where they actually get it to production. Normally they're sold to larger companies, and then they take it on to the final steps. So I think it separates us as well from and de-risk the project quite significantly from the drill bit, if you will, and core analysis and all of the engineering studies you have to go through to now becoming a producing mine. We're quite proud of that. We think it really puts us in a very select category of miners.
So Murray, anything to add to that? I mean, what does this mean going forward?
Well, yeah, Jane, well, it's been our intention right from the get-go to hopefully put this into production in the next 4 to 5 months. What that does for us, that ships it to that mill. We can then ship it to the mill. And you know, just another thing about the mill is that it was a big feather in our cap to lease that mill, because that alone is probably a 3-year permitting process and capital expenditure of anywhere from $7 to $10 million at least. So we've kind of shortcut that process by getting this mill. I think a big feather in our cap. And now we can mine the material from underground, ship it to the mill. It's only 36 miles away on a very flat highway on a very good road, and process that material and actually produce gold and silver. So I think that was our intent right from the get-go. We hope to do that.
Okay, Marie, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess, Jane, I'd really like to thank people for taking an interest in what we're doing. I think our timing's really good. I think the gold and precious metal business, I think, has got a lot of upside from here. What's going on in the world right now with all the turmoil, I think there's a lot of problems facing the world. I mean, the way all the countries are printing currencies. I think it bodes well for gold. I think we're in the right business. I think our timing is couldn't be better to be entering into this phase of development when things are the way they are. Because as Joe's always indicated to me with his experience with Newmont, from drill bit to actual production is about a 10-year time horizon. So I think our timing couldn't be any better. I think with what's happening in the world, I think this business is a very good business to be in right now.
We've talked before about the macroeconomic situation. I mean, it's not just kind of the uncertainty and the turmoil, but also, as you mentioned, all the money printing and what that means for inflation and as people look for different assets other than currency. So, I mean, could be a very interesting few years ahead for gold and silver as well.
We think so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Best of luck and congratulations. And look forward to an update soon.
Thanks very much, Jane.
Native coin will be used by tribal businesses, enterprises, gaming, sports betting, and the tribal ecosystem worldwide to support daily financial transactions. Now, there are over 560 Native American tribes and 460 Native-run casinos in the U.S. So Native coin will not only give the tribes, but also any person or business the ability to buy, sell, send, purchase, and exchange funds via the blockchain. So good to have you all with us today. And we've got Jay Simmons, who is the Director of Tribal Operations for Native Coin, Randy Williams, the President of Native Coin, and also Marcus Gwynn, also known as MC1, International Tour Support for Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas, official DJ for Nike N7, and advisor for Native Coin. So great to have everybody here today. Jay, let's start with you. So I see you have some guests with you today, and I know we've talked in the past, but can you just bring viewers up to date in terms of what Native Coin is and what you're doing?
Sure, no problem. Thank you, Jane, and thank you again for having Native Coin back on with you. As always, it's a pleasure. For Native Coin, we are a sovereign native cryptocurrency, and basically it's created to bring outside investment to all the sovereign lands, connecting tribal enterprises to non-tribal enterprises, but it's really much bigger than that, but also using the new technology of blockchain. So it's been incredible. We look forward to doing this, and yeah, it's we got a great team now, and we're rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Well, I've always really thought this was a cool blockchain application, a really way to bring it forward. So we've got Randy with us here today too. Randy, President of Native Coin, just to bring us up to date, tell me about you. How did you get involved with the Native Coin project?
Well, these guys brought it to me. I thought it was a great idea for the tribes. I've worked for tribes my whole life. Currently on my tribal council. Most recently, I've been a CEO for a Native corporation, and this sounded like an opportunity that made sense and is really going to be good for the Native community. And so once we get this started, of course, that will just enhance the Native community's ability to track their own money and basically have their own currency. So that's an important aspect of the tribal identity.
Jay, let's finish up with you. If you could kind of talk about Native Coin, what you see for the future going forward.
Sure. From the beginning, just like Marcus was talking about, the visibility factor, that's been the hugest thing. And with Native Coin, one of our biggest thing is showing, there may be a lot of different Native American tribes, but we're coming together as one voice, and to have a huge voice and to let people know. And my goal is to actually help Native Coin rewrite history, but also it was talked about many years ago about creating sovereign currency. And now we're at the point with blockchain and everything right now that it's going to become a reality. And I'm just happy to be part of this project. So.
Okay. And then just tell me how somebody can learn more about Native Coin.
Sure. No problem. They can go to native-coin.com. It has plenty of information on there, but also if people are looking to buy, it shows you a tutorial on there. And, you can always reach us at info@native-coin.com.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jay and Marcus and Randy, for joining me, and look forward to more updates.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Jane. We appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you.
Closed captioning brought to you by Pray.com, the #1 app for daily prayer and bedtime Bible stories.
Pray.com's bedtime Bible stories calm your mind and ease your